now, I will ask Veronica Lacey to come up to the podium to say a few words about the Take Our Kids to Work program and to introduce our moderator and panelists. Veronica?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Alexa, you're doing a fantastic job. I think that you're going to put the next person who takes your job at shame, so watch out, world. Here she comes. I was saying to Alexa earlier on today that, and I'll say a couple of words about the Ultimate Dream Job Contest, but the winner of the Ultimate Dream Job Contest gets to spend a day with the Prime Minister of Canada. Currently, the Prime Minister of Canada, as you know, is in France, dealing with some very complex financial issues. So since Alexa wasn't able to spend the day with the Prime Minister of Canada, she just absolutely is going to have to become the Prime Minister of Canada. So it's obviously written in the book, right? Way to go, Alexa. I do want to recognize Alexa's family, who are very important members of our community, not only because of the positions they hold, but because of what they have given to public life and to their own communities. So I would like to recognize Rory Chambers, who was the president of the Canadian Club. So you have to stand up, right? Yay. And Marianne Chambers, please stand up. Marianne Chambers was a vice president with Scotiabank, and I first knew her when she led the campaign for the United Way, and she was a minister of community and social services for the province of Ontario. So it's Minister Marianne Chambers. We're thrilled that you're here. And I just want to say that I have some colleagues here also from the Learning Partnership, and that's Amani Tadros and Juan Tran and Kim Miller, and one of my bosses on my board, Martha Torrey, whose firm just bought a table as well. So I'm thrilled. Thank you very much for being here. I can hardly believe that Take Our Kids to Work has been around for 17 years. So none of the kids here in this room were around. But maybe some of the adults in this room were part of the Take Our Kids to Work in the very first year. Maybe not. You don't have to say your age. So I won't be asking anybody how old they are, just in case they ask me how old I am. But for the kids here today, this is the 4th year, and we're so thrilled because it is an opportunity for the kids to come and experience what adults experience on a regular basis. So this luncheon really is for you, the kids. Right across Canada, 75,000 employers, over 200,000 kids are participating in Take Our Kids to Work. 200,000. It's an amazing number of young people going to work with their parents, their aunts, their uncles, other relatives, friends from coast to coast to coast. So you could be in the far reaches of Newfoundland or in Victoria or in Nunavut, and you're participating in Take Our Kids to Work Day. But regardless of where you are in this country, the purpose is always the same. The purpose is always to give kids the opportunity to think about what kinds of careers are open to you, the kind of variety of careers that are there, and most importantly, what is it that you need to do today to make sure that you have a chance to pursue your passion or your dream and actually work in that particular career. Oftentimes, kids wonder, what is the relevance of what I do in science class or math class or chemistry class? And it takes a while to understand that in point of fact, and we were just talking about this, in point of fact, understanding math or science and doing well in it opens doors not only to medicine, not only to engineering, but also to the trades and to baking, for that matter. And so when you go back to school, it's tremendously important that you begin to think of what you do every day in every one of your classes in terms of where you want to go once you graduate. And the bottom line is always once you graduate. That is your first and most important job. Those young people who graduate from secondary school and go on to apprenticeship or college or university have an opportunity to create a life for yourselves and a life for your family. So Take Our Kids to Work is about thinking about you and what your possibilities are. In the last 3 years, we added another piece to Take Our Kids to Work. It's called the Ultimate Dream Job Contest. And we had over 500 kids and 40,000 participants in the Ultimate Dream Job Contest. Kids say they want to do a huge variety of things, whether it's a lumberjack or a researcher or somebody who wants to find a cure for cancer. The young man who won and who is going to be spending the day in Ottawa with the Governor General, the Right Honorable David Johnston, and to be introduced in the House of Commons is a young man from Gainsborough, a very small town in Nova Scotia, and he wants to be a guitarist. So it all works if you follow your passion. But to follow your passion, you have to make the connection between what you're going to do when you finish school and what you're learning every day in school today. And so I want to thank you for participating. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank the Canadian Club for making this happen for the 4th year in a row, Scotiabank, and the employers and parents who are in the room who join hands with all of us to make sure that every kid in this country has the opportunity to pursue their dreams, to pursue their passions. So that's what the Learning Partnership is all about. So let's get started. And let me introduce our moderator for today's event. She's a former grade 7 and grade 8 teacher in Nobleton, Ontario. Best job in the world. So for anybody who thinks that once you become a teacher, you don't have any chances to move on to other careers, here we are. But you will recognize her as the co-host of CP24 Breakfast. So please join me in welcoming Melissa Grello and this year's panelists.
Thank you. Now testing, do you want me to use this guy right now? Oh, there we go. I'm free from the podium. Hi, everybody, how are you doing today? Good, did you enjoy lunch? Yes, now we can all think because our bellies are full. Thank you very, very much, Veronica, for that wonderful introduction. As Veronica mentioned, I actually started my career not on television. I started as a grade 7 and 8 teacher. It was fascinating because ever since I was your age, so you're mostly 13, 14, and 15, I said I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher. That's all I want to do with my life. So I decided to pursue that. And I went through high school and I went through university. And I said, that's it. I'm going to get my Bachelor of Education. I also got my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and I minored in French. So I figured, you know what, I've got my French all there, I've got my teaching degree all set, I'm ready to go. And I started teaching and decided I was going to go do my master's in education, which I started. And then all of a sudden, the brakes came on, big time. And I want to share the story with you because today is a wonderful opportunity that I didn't get to have when I was your age, and I really, really wish that I did. I knew there was one path, and I was following what I thought was my passion at the time. Started my master's in education and realized for whatever reason that things had changed. Something inside of me had changed. And it was really scary because I had gone through my whole life thinking I wanted to be a teacher, had done all of this education, spent a heck of a lot of money, was in a lot of debt. Adults, you know what I'm talking about. And I really had invested so much of myself into teaching. And all of a sudden, another light bulb came on, and I decided that I wanted to pursue journalism. So, and I did, and I took, as I say, a left turn in my life and a left turn in my career, and here I am today co-hosting one of Toronto's most popular morning shows. I was really lucky as well last year to have been selected to go and co-host Olympic Morning at the Olympic Games in Vancouver and in Whistler, and that's not something I could have foreseen for myself when I was your age. So I wanted to share that story because we're here today to hopefully open up your horizons a little bit, let you know what else is out there from other things that you've already experienced with your friends or your family, but to also understand that sometimes your passions will change, and that's okay too, and to follow that. So I wanted to share that story. That's just my boring little story, but we have an amazing panel for you today, and this is going to be a fantastic afternoon. As Veronica mentioned, this is all about you. So we're really going to start this, even though we're going to have a panel, this is really going to be a conversation. We're all going to chat with each other. We're going to take questions. I'm going to ask questions of you. I'm going to ask questions of our panelists as well. And so all of this is really for us to basically share ideas. Okay? So without further ado, let me introduce to you our fantastic panel today. I wanted to first introduce to you Olivia Villeneuve. She's one of our grade 9 students. Round of applause for Olivia. And Olivia, come and take a seat. And Olivia, I understand that you want to be a dancer or pursue dancing in your life. Yeah. Tell us quickly about that.
Well, right now I dance 4 or 5 days a week, and I really love it. And I like working with kids, and I help out with classes at my studio, and I just think it'd be a great opportunity for me to keep doing what I love to do and stuff.
Fantastic. So we thought, or the organizers today thought, it would be fantastic to pair up with Olivia today as somebody that you just have to meet because I think she's fantastic and you're going to think she's fantastic as well. She's the principal dancer with the National Ballet of Canada. Please help me welcome Jillian Vanstone to our panel tonight. And Jillian, as you can, I'm sure, attest to what Olivia has found as her passion, obviously dancing is your passion.
Absolutely. It's been for a very long time, actually.
It's wonderful. And how long did it take you on your journey to get to where you are now as the principal dancer of the National Ballet of Canada?
Well, I just was promoted in June, so it was very exciting for me to reach this goal that I've had for years. But I've been with the company 11 years. Wonderful. And trained for 5 years at the ballet school before that, started when I was 6, so it's been quite a few years trying to get here, yeah.
Quite a journey, wonderful. All right, next up, please welcome Keenan to our panel today. Keenan, also a grade 9 student. And Keenan, tell us what your aspirations are.
I would like to become a search and rescue pilot because I like flying, it's very exhilarating. And I would also like to use my talents to save lives and help people.
And I told him that he could be the next Prince William, because that's exactly what Prince William does. It's Prince Keenan, doesn't it sound good? It does. So we thought it'd be wonderful to pair up Keenan today. It is an honor, really. It was an honor for me to meet her as well. I want you to put your hands together for Lieutenant Colonel Maurice Carmichael, the very first female commanding officer of the 431st Squadron, otherwise known as the Snowbirds. Please. So Maryse, you know a thing or two about potentially what Keenan has ahead of him. I asked this question of you earlier. How on earth did you decide to get into into aviation and to becoming a pilot?
I started actually very much, it's a coincidence, very much like Keenan with the Air Cadets when I was a teenager. And that's how I started flying gliders, did my private pilot license, and then later on joined the Canadian Forces, and I've been with the Canadian Forces now for 20 years.
And I asked her, how many other females have there been? And your answer was?
Just one, with the Snowbirds, yeah.
Just her. That's it. Isn't that amazing? Just one. I know we've all had our food and you're having dessert, but in the future, I think you need to remember this name, Miss Jasmine, as we introduce her up to the stage, who has aspirations of being a fantastic baker, perhaps pastry chef. Come on up here, Jasmine. And I asked, how did you decide that you wanted to maybe aspire to be a pastry chef?
When I was really young, I liked baking. My grandma and my mom would bake with me. And that's always just been something I like to do. It's like kind of comforting for me now. If like I'm kind of stressed, I just go home and I'll bake something and then I'll bring it to school for my friends and they'll be like, yes, you baked.
You must be the most popular girl in school.
Yes.
Awesome. And of course, with Jasmine today, we decided to pair up with her. This is very, very exciting. He is the owner and chef of Hey Meatball. Put your hands together for Rodney Bowers. And listen, you know this, Rodney, the restaurant business is not easy. What made you decide to get into it?
Melissa, that's a great question. It's there was too many pilots, so being a cook was next in line. I was born into it. My mother was a chef, a cook, and my grandmother was, and I wish there were doctors, but so be it.
All right, let's put our hands together for our panel, ladies and gentlemen. So I've already kind of got through the first question in terms of what your dream job would be. So I'm going to go straight to the second one. What are you doing right now? And I'll start with you. I'll start the opposite end, Jasmine. What are you doing right now? And what's your plan in the long term to actually help you achieve your dream job of becoming a pastry chef?
I bake for my friends and family. Like my aunts and my moms will be like, oh, my colleague wants you to make a cake for their little kid's birthday. I'll be like, okay. And I baked a couple days ago for my school's bake sale and just kind of get my name out there and tell everyone what I do. And basically, it's just pretty much more of that. I just want to get some more experience so I know what I will have to do when I'm older to bake. I want to get my name out there.
Do you know what schooling might be necessary for you to move forward?
Probably food nutrition. That's what I want to do because I like the kind of experimental side and figure out why things react together. Like, I think that's really cool.
Very, very cool. So Keenan, I would imagine there's a fair bit of training and education ahead for you. Do you know, what are you planning to do to get there?
Well, I've joined the local Air Cadet Squadron, so it's actually free training. So I get training for free, basically. Yeah. And I guess it's good because they put you through military college, all for free again. And
does that include your post-secondary education? Do you know, Maryse?
Yes, it does. Either through the Royal Military College of Canada or through a civilian university on their training plan as well.
And is that paid for by the government?
That's correct. That's correct.
Hey, now.
yeah.
My ears just perked up too. Okay. So let's talk about this for you, Miss Olivia. So in terms of training, obviously dancing is completely physical and mental as well. So what do you need to do to plan to pursue your dreams?
Well, right now I'm helping out with classes at my studio with the younger ones. And since I really want to be a dance teacher, I plan on keep doing that throughout the years and just keep working towards that goal. I'm also on the dance team at my school, and that's a big opportunity for me too because it's a different style than what I'm used to. So just trying out new things and workshops and stuff like that, it's really helped me improve. And also helping out with the classes at my studio is really doing a lot for me too.
Very good. So Rodney, let's talk about this. When you were the age of all of these students and students in the room, did you already know that you would be doing what you're doing right now?
No, I didn't. It was a premonition, and you feel it kind of when you're in high school, and you start to sort of go down the path. And I was always cooking, and the only kid in my class that was doing all the cooking when we'd have a get together, and you never actually think because it wasn't a career that was highly promoted when I was in high school. Nobody. When you sat down with the guidance counselor, was never spoke, well, what about cooking or what about getting into the restaurant business? That just never happened, but you follow your passion, and which one step leads to the other, and here I am with 20 years of cooking behind me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Maryse, did you know that you would be a pilot when you were about 14 or 15?
I did realize back then when I started flying gliders especially, and having to get up early on the weekends to go flying, and it didn't bother me at all. I really enjoyed it, and I really got up quickly, and it was I realized it was a passion, and that was something that I wanted to pursue
Was
as a
it
career.
in your family?
I have an older brother that's also a pilot, and I think I just followed in his footsteps. He joined the Canadian Forces 4 years before me, and then and just followed them.
Very interesting. And did you know from a very young age, Jillian, that you wanted to be a dancer?
I actually knew when I was 8. I started lessons when I was 6, and I remember very distinctly telling my mom when I was 8 years old that I wanted to be a ballerina. And I'm sure there's a million 8-year-olds that say that, but I was really serious. And so when I was 14, I had already been a year at the National Ballet School here in Toronto. I came when I was 13 from BC. So at that point, I made a pretty big commitment already, and having spent a year here just reinforced my passion and my drive to keep going with it.
So let me ask each of you, at what age would you say, was there a definitive age where you knew this is my career for the rest of my life? Was it 8 years old for you?
I was 8.
It was 8 years old.
Yeah.
You just knew.
Yeah, and I think about that now, and I didn't really know what that meant. I just had this incredible passion for it and knew that it had to be my life. And it's funny because I'm not sure what it was exactly that drove me to that. I just loved my lessons so much and knew vaguely that I could make some kind of career out of it. Not knowing a whole lot about ballet companies or how to even get there. It's just I was so determined already.
And you figured it out, and
Yeah.
you figured that part out.
Yeah.
And Maryse, was there an age where you said, this is my career, this is a choice that I'm making, and this will be my career?
I think it was probably a little bit later in life, maybe about Keenan's age, when I decided to really go towards aviation. I had been close to aviation growing up as well, but it was a little bit later on that I decided to make it a career.
And what about for you? What age did you decide that you were going to maybe pursue being a chef or potentially opening your own business?
It was a little bit later. It was about 18. I washed dishes in a mess hall when I was 15, and peeled some potatoes, worked part-time when I was 16 and 17. And I did really well in school. And when I told my mom that finally I was, I think I really want to be a cook, because she was a cook, and she was like, nope, no bye. You're not getting into it, right? And I asked my dad, and my dad was like, whatever, my son, you want to do, it's great. And making that choice to follow a trade was the best thing I ever did.
Why do you think your mom had hesitation for
Well,
you
she
to do
grew
that?
up in the industry, right? And she sort of, oftentimes it's a very, with a lot of other jobs, it's very demanding. And, and she grew up in it, and she was like, she had a passion for it. And you want to really feel this is what you want to do, and make that choice, because it's a tough one.
You got to sacrifice.
You got to
for the things you love.
sacrifice. You got to sacrifice. for
Right.
sure.
Then there is no sacrifice without love. And no
Yeah,
love without
exactly.
sacrifice.
And you know what? We tell a lot of the cooks that come on and work in the restaurant that, one of my chefs told me in school when I went to George Brown, they said, everyone who wants to be rich, put up your hands. And everyone put up their hands. And they said, everyone who wants to be a chef, put up your hands. And everyone put up their hands. And he was like, you can't have both. Right? And it's a labor of love. And that's what you love to do it. And that's what it is.
You wouldn't survive otherwise.
No way.
No way.
No way.
Okay, Olivia, I wanted to ask you, looking forward, what do you think are some of the jobs or maybe some of the volunteer experiences that you think you will need, maybe you're already doing it, that you will need to attain your dream job?
Well, definitely helping out with classes at my studio is really getting on the road to being a dance teacher. And also some of my, one of my friends, she works for Clarington sometimes, and she teaches classes to young ones as well. I think that'd be also a good way to do it, because it's not necessarily with the people that I know very well at my studio. It's kind of getting myself more out there with the town and stuff like that. So I think that'd be a good opportunity as well.
That's great. And now, can you volunteer in any way, Keenan? What do you do in terms of trying to gain experience? Is it simply what is offered to you through Air Cadets primarily?
Kind of, but since I want to be a search and rescue pilot, I need to cover the medical part of the job. So like a lifeguard or paramedic would do. And you also need a lot of practical flying hours, around 50, to get into the actual working force.
So you just kind of get buddies with somebody who has a plane?
basically.
Just kidding. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. And for you, Jasmine, what do you need to do in terms of either volunteers or other experience that you need to get under your belt?
I think it's just still just like making cakes for friends and making cakes for family members. And I volunteer, like I'm usually the one at my family functions, like I'll bake the dessert. And I was like, I can do it. It's usually, or my mom or dad will volunteer my services. But it's just, I think it's just practice.
Practice makes perfect. We've got some questions for the panel, and it doesn't say who it's from, so I'll just pose it. For the adults, did you have an option B career? That's a good one. Maryse, we'll start with you. Did you have a plan B?
Not initially, actually. When I first went to the recruiting center and mentioned what I wanted to do, I said pilot, and of course they always ask for second or third choice navigator or a traffic controller, and at that point I didn't. It was pilot or nothing with the military.
Interesting. And Jillian, did you have a plan B?
Well, I thought a little bit. My father's a lawyer, so I did think about law, but honestly, not as seriously as I was thinking about being a ballet dancer. I think if this is not what I would have done, or if I hadn't done this, I would have gone into law.
Those are two different worlds.
Yes.
A ballerina or a lawyer?
Yes.
You're very, very well-rounded.
I hope so.
And what about for you, Ronnie? Did you have a plan B?
You know what? I didn't. It was all or nothing. It was, and when you love something and when you love to do something, I don't think there ever is a plan B. It was I just put my heart and soul into it, and it just became everything to me, right? And I had, a few years ago, I had someone that came up to me who I knew years ago, and they said, so what are you doing now? What are you up to? You were cooking before, and I'm like, that's what I'm still doing. I love it, and I love doing it every day. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Students, I'll start with you, Keenan. What do you think might be the biggest hurdle to overcome?
I really don't know.
That's a good answer. Good answer. No, seriously, because you're encountering it all the time, right? So, Olivia, what about you? Biggest thing you think you might have to overcome?
Well, I just think getting into it, because there's lots of dancers, definitely. I think lots of them want to pursue that, and you have to go through auditions for different things and stuff like that. So I just think maybe getting like jobs and stuff like that would be hard, because I know it's not easy to make it as like a professional dancer. So
I gotta ask you, and I gotta ask the audience. You guys watch shows like So You Think You Can Dance? We know it's hard for dancers, right? Competition is fierce, and they have to deal with a lot of rejection. Is that something that you think you can handle, or how do you even prepare for that?
Yeah, I think I could handle it, because like right now I'm competing, and I compete against many different studios and stuff like that. So competing like that and not always winning is definitely like setting you up. You know that you're not always going to get the part, you're not always going to win, but sometimes it does work out for you. You just never know what to expect. So
Builds character. Yes. And Jasmine, what about you? What do you think the biggest hurdles will be for you to overcome?
Probably my communication skills and confidence. Like, I probably need more confidence and be able to really be like, okay, this is the business aspect, this is what I have to do, because now it's kind of more for fun. But I think I need to be more confident and be able to say, okay, this is business. I have to be able to do this, and I can't just kind of push that to the side because I want to have fun.
Your confidence, you're doing very well so far, for the record. I've got another one from the audience. This is for Jasmine. Jasmine, if you open up a baking restaurant, what will you name it? And would you name it after your grandma and mother's name, or something more special? I'm guessing. Hey, Mom.
Well, then I'm guessing you asked it.
Mom's in the audience, in case you guys are wondering.
I don't know. It's kind of hard, because you'll be like, oh, this is such a cool name, and then you'll Google it and be like, it's already taken. Obviously, okay. So then you try something else. It's like, that one's taken too. I guess I can't do that. But it's, I don't know. My mom is like, you should name it after me. I'm your mom.
And what's your mom's name?
Jacqueline.
So you call it like Jackie's?
I could,
Or
but I
J
probably
and
won't.
We'll continue to talk when this is done. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I want to break it down a little bit with the adults, so to speak here. I want you to break down of your education, maybe starting from maybe after high school. We've got a bunch of high school students here. If you can take us through your levels of education to get to where you are. We'll start with you, Jillian.
Okay, well, my high school acted a little bit as, I guess, some people's university education would work as far as my career goes. Because right out of high school, I auditioned for the ballet company. It is a shorter career, so you get into it right away. People don't often make it past 40. So that's when I'm going back to university, I guess. And I started out in the company with a year of apprenticeship, and then joined the Corps de Ballet after that, and moved up through the ranks through that. And really, I was gaining my experience through my work.
So how many years from when you actually had audition and then to becoming principal dancer?
11 years.
11 years. Wow, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
A lot of work, and she's still working.
Yeah.
And what about for you, Maryse?
For me, I finished high school and CEGEP in Quebec, and then joined the Canadian Forces right after, actually. At the time, we could join as an officer without a degree. So I'm kind of doing it backwards. So that's probably one advice I would have for Keenan, to go ahead, do your degree, and then join after that. So I'm doing it part-time now with the work at the same time.
Okay, and so you went in right after high school?
I went in after CEGEP in Quebec.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Wow.
But this is something that now the Canadian Forces allows me to do. We can do it part-time with work. And, but of course, all the flying training was also part of of my training in the early years.
And what is your degree in now that you're working towards?
It's a Bachelor of Military Arts and Science.
Wow. And right after high school, Rodney?
Right after high school, I got into it, and the cooking industry works a lot on an apprenticeship program as well. And I signed up for a short course at George Brown College, which was great, which teaches a lot of kids about the production values and the math and the balance behind cooking and what you need to run a restaurant. And I did 3,500 hours to get my journeyman papers, and then I wrote my Red Seal after about 6,000 hours. And I continue to take courses. I was in Italy for 2 months last year. I took an olive oil course. I took a week learning how to make cheese. Wow. We went wild mushroom foraging. I went to Sicily and learned how to make ice cream for 4 days.
Wow.
So with being a cook, it's constant learning. I mean, you're never going to know all the recipes in the world or master it, and there's a lot of different cooks and chefs that you can work with that'll, teach you many aspects of the business, how to make desserts or pastries, or how to keep a real clean kitchen, or how to balance your books. And that's the fun about doing what I do, is it's a constant learning process, and I'll never know everything.
The education never stops.
No.
I think it sounds like that for all of you,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Another question from the group, it's for the entire panel. Have you ever felt like quitting your dream job? That would be table 9. Thanks, table 9. Have you ever, anybody felt like quitting? Jillian.
I did. Yeah, there was once that, and it was really tough because it caught me by surprise. I'd never, ever considered it. And there was a day, and now it's funny because I don't remember what had set me off on this path, but I guess it was a really rough time. And I had this idea. I was like, that's it. I'm going upstairs, and I'm going to my boss. I'm gonna quit. And I did have the presence of mind to tell myself to sleep on it, at least. And I'm sure he would have actually told me to go away and come back tomorrow if I had actually done that. But the job is really tough, and it's mentally tough as well as physically. And you have a lot of pressure that you put on yourself. And I've been working for this since I was a little kid. And sometimes it didn't seem like I was going to get where I wanted to go, and that can be really tough. And that's the hardest times to work through, and the hardest times to keep pushing. And it's easy to work when you're inspired. But luckily, I came out of that feeling, and I'm really glad I did, because I would have missed out on so much had I stopped.
You didn't know what was waiting for you around the corner.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Maryse, did you ever think, I'm going to quit, this is it, this is too much for me?
I think probably not to the point of quitting, but perhaps reconsidering what we do. Of course, in aviation, sometimes there's ups and downs and accidents do happen. Being a military member with the Canadian Forces, we have people all over the world right now in over 30 countries. And there are a lot of events that make you reconsider and think about the career. But overall, very worth it. And I will continue, of course, in aviation and with the Canadian Forces.
That's great. Does it ever get too tough, Rodney?
Yeah, we call them tough days for sure. And just before I opened my first restaurant, I was running a restaurant for somebody else, and sometimes it can be a job that goes a lot without appreciation because you're working a lot of hours, and the pay is always questionable. And but when you love it, you love it. And I finished up with this restaurant. I gave my notice, and I was like, I really like working with wood. And I thought about it, and then the opportunity arose to open my own restaurant, and the thought hasn't crossed my mind since.
Amazing. This is a question for you, Keenan. What's your rank in the Air Cadets?
I'm a flight corporal.
A flight corporal?
3 years in the Air Cadets.
And then what's the next rank for you?
Which would be sergeant, and then flight sergeant, and then warrant officer.
Very cool. Sounds good to me. Olivia, this is for you. Olivia, who do you admire as a dancer?
Well, I definitely have to say Jordan Clark from So Think You Can Dance. I just, this season on So Think You Can Dance, I just watched her, and she just amazed me. And
she won now.
She won. And
do you guys remember her? Bright red hair. Did you guys watch the show? She had bright red hair, beautiful girl, great dancer. And she won, so that's how good she was.
I just loved watching her dance, and it was really amazing.
Have you met her?
I did go see one of the shows, and I did get her autograph, but I didn't really talk to her. There's so many people there, but yeah, I've seen her.
I'm sure that was still very inspiring for you.
Yeah, it was amazing.
She's great.
Very good.
This is a question for anyone on the panel. Did you ever have doubts or encounter barriers on your path, and if so, how did you overcome it? Let's talk about that. What were the biggest hurdles in any of this for you? This is for anybody so far. It could be the students or for the adults as well.
I'll take this one. When you sort of want to become a chef, you always have a vision of owning your own bakery or owning your own restaurant. And then you have an ideal of it, right? And then goes the path of making that happen. And sometimes you can find yourself you're not in the best place, or like we said, when I wanted to become a carpenter, I wasn't in a restaurant where I wanted to be cooking the food that I wanted, and sort of which made me leave. But it was those steps to, I went to work in a steakhouse to learn how to grill meat, and I went to work in a bakery to learn how to bake bread. And there were times it's like, on the whole, you're taking those little steps to get to your eventual goal, which was to cook 100-mile, food, to cook sustainable food, to be, sort of the master of your own domain and really cook what you love to cook, right? And you have to go through little things, I think, that you're not 100% with, but in the end, they're going to get you to where you want to go. And you have to make little sacrifices for sure.
And speaking of sacrifices, also in the same line as the obstacles, this is a question for the entire panel, and I think it's a great one. The question is, how many times did you have doors close on you before you actually became successful? I think we have maybe a romanticized vision for ourselves when we want to pursue something, whatever it is. And then sometimes for some people, the first door that closes in their face, it's that ultimate rejection, and maybe even makes them question if this is the right career for them. So let's take through some of those. And maybe students, you've already had that. Have there been any doors that have closed, and what did that do for you in your journey? Jillian?
Well, as Olivia was mentioning earlier, with competition and such, often there's a lot of people trying for certain roles in a production, and when you're younger too, these roles can lead you on the path to promotion and more roles like that. And it's really tough because it's a subjective art form. So we often get choreographers coming in from outside, and you want them to like you, and it's true, not every single choreographer is always going to like you, and not every director will like you to hire you on for something. And so you do run into those times where you feel very, often quite devastated that you weren't chosen for something, and you feel like it's a real reflection of yourself. And that's really, really tough, trying to work past that and continue with that, and realize that just because this opportunity didn't come up doesn't mean that another one won't, and it doesn't mean you're not talented. It just means that this is how it worked out. But it's often really hard to take that, and it's hard to be okay. Well, not really okay, but accept rejection.
What do you tell yourself in that situation?
Well, often I go through a phase of being fairly upset about it, and then just tell myself to keep going. And again, that's when it's the hardest to keep working, but I think that's when it's the most important to keep working, and still remember why you're passionate about something.
Mm-hmm. And Maryse, the fact that there are so few women in aviation, for me as an outsider, I would think that alone is a huge obstacle to overcome. Were doors shut in your face because you're female?
I think it might seem like this a little bit, that maybe doors are closed, but for me, actually, certainly, it is just normal. That's my normal daily life, is working with men. Although at our squadron we have more female technicians that are arriving at the squadron, and I grew up with 3 brothers also, so they prepared me quite well for this job that I do now. But my very first time actually trying out for the Snowbirds, I was not accepted in the team. So at the time, I really thought the door was closed, and it was. I could remember seeing the Snowbirds from when I was 4 or 5 years old, and I thought that was it, that I would never make it. And then the opportunity presented itself again to try out one more time for the squadron, and finally made it in 2001. And it was a dream come true, but really it just taught me to have perseverance and determination, and keep going and use the opportunities that you might be given.
Did you know, I didn't know, did you guys know that there was a female pilot in the Snowbirds? No, and now you know. You know her personally. And so Rodney, a big obstacle, was there a door that shut in your face? And how, and if so, how did you overcome that?
I think it was applying for a job. There was this restaurant in Spain that I really wanted to go and work at. Back in '95, it was sort of new, what they call molecular gastronomy, and as a young cook, you have your finger on the pulse, and I wrote, and this was when email just came out, so I wrote an email, and I sent a letter, and I called the restaurant, and I didn't speak Spanish, and I didn't get the job opportunity. I was a little bit persistent, and then I finally got something back suggesting that I contact a chef that was a little closer to home in the States, in Connecticut, and I did, and I sent him a letter, and he took me down for 2 years, and I went down and I cooked with him, and so it was a door closed and another opened, and a learning experience to be had all around. But you get disappointed when you get, it's like, oh, I can do it, but it was for the better, I think.
You learned something from it.
Of course.
Have you guys experienced any disappointment yet in striving for your various career options yet? Have you encountered any difficulties? Keenan, I'll start with you.
Well, I've heard that many people want to become pilots, so I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but I think it'll be harder to get into the job because many people actually want to become one. So there's a bit of a downfall there.
But do you think you've got what it takes? Do you have that passion?
Hopefully.
I believe you do. I believe you do.
Thank you.
Olivia, have you encountered any difficulties?
Well, just at competitions, you don't always get the best mark, but you just have to work past it, and you always have more than one group, solo, duet, a day, and you just have to get past it. If you don't get a good mark on something, you just have to try harder and harder at the next thing that comes along and just try to improve and just work past it.
And Jasmine, I'm guessing that there is already a lot of trial and error when it comes to what you do.
Yeah.
I really respect it because I stink in the kitchen all around. I really do. Is that your biggest difficulty, or do you have really high standards for yourself in what you do?
I have pretty high standards for myself. Like I'll try to be like, no, this is not good at all. But I entered a competition last year called the Iron Cupcake, and that, yeah.
Tell us about it. What is that?
It's a cupcake competition they have monthly downtown at a bakery. I'm not sure what it's called. I forget. It was last year. But you bake a cupcake and it's themed around something, and then you have to make like a display, and then people will vote on your cupcakes, and then you kind of win. It's kind of like the competition, the learning partnership. But I was so devastated because there was a first, second, and third place, and I didn't win. I was like, oh, I was so devastated. I was like, okay, I'm obviously not good at baking. I should just give up. There's no point in me doing this anymore. Why am I doing this? But I had a lot of family with me that day, and they were just really supportive. And
it's wonderful. And just before we wrap up, I'm going to ask each of the adults if there's a piece of wisdom that you can pass along to the students here, students who are just really getting those creative juices flowing, maybe asking those same questions. What do I want to be when I grow up, and what do I need to do to get there? If you can give us a few words that they can take along with them. Julian, I'll start with you.
I think probably the biggest thing is actually the perseverance. I think there's often an idea that people that make it to the top had this straight line there, and they had their big break, and everything was handed to them, and it worked out well. And really, that's never the case. And often you see something like, so you think you can dance, it's really great, but it's a TV show, and you see this very short amount of time of work that these dancers do, and they don't necessarily focus on everything that came before that, and the times that somebody was rejected and kept going, and that's really a part of it. And if you have passion for something, you will hit roadblocks, and not everything will come easy, but it makes it so much more worthwhile in the end. So just keep going with it.
Keep going. Maryse?
I think I agree with Jillian, of course, perseverance, and I would add to that perhaps passion. I think all three of us, and certainly you included as well, have a passion, and once you have it, you have the love for it, you don't mind putting in the hours and the work and the dedication that's necessary to succeed. So if you love what you do, you won't have to work really.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's just keeping with, finding what you love to do. And, people ask me, how's work? And I'm like, I don't really work. I just show up at a place and I do what I do. And you don't consider it work. It's more of a lifestyle. And if you're there every day, you're just loving it. And you're sometimes when I have to plunge the toilets, that's a little bit of work. That's not the most, but it's finally figuring out. And don't be afraid, especially in this industry, to try new things. If maybe it's not baking, or if it's working in a kitchen, but you can be a food stylist. You can test food. There's so many different aspects of the hospitality industry. You can work the front of the house that are fun, great, outgoing jobs that require good math and a great background in school. And it doesn't have to be just cooking in the kitchen. As long as you have a good work ethic and have integrity, it's all going to work out.
Awesome. Well, that concludes our panel for today. Did you guys enjoy that? Let's put our hands together for our panel. Olivia, Keenan, Jasmine, Rodney, Maryse, and Jillian. Thank you guys so much. That was a lot of fun. Amazing.
Thank you to our panel for giving us some insight into your aspirations and exciting careers. I can tell by the buzz in the room that our guests really enjoyed what you had to say, and I have to say I did too. The very wise and ancient philosopher Confucius, whose fortune cookies you all have read, once said, "Choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life." This sounds like the perfect reflection of our theme today: to be inspired and dream big, and to love what we do so much that it doesn't seem like work. Our panelists have also demonstrated that it takes motivation and hard work to achieve this goal. I'd like to thank each of them: Melissa, Olivia, Jillian, Keenan, Maurice, Jasmine, and Rod, for inspiring us all to make good life and career choices. On behalf of the Canadian Club of Toronto, I'd like to present each of you with a small token of our thanks. First, to our ultimate dream job finalists, a pizza party for you and your classmates, courtesy of Pizza Pizza. And for the adults, a bottle of 100% Ontario wine from the Foreign Affairs Winery, courtesy of Len Crispino. Let's give our career panel a big round of applause. Thanks to all of you in our audience for being with us today and charging the room with your energy, your enthusiasm, and your excellent questions. And to the Learning Partnership, creators of Take Your Kids to Work Day, a big thank you for working with the Canadian Club for Take Our Kids to Lunch today. Let's do lunch again next year, but for now, I want to turn things back to Alexa.
Thank you, Cameron, and thank you everyone for joining us today. This concludes our live television programming, which will be rebroadcasted on Rogers TV in the days to come. We are grateful to Rogers TV and 680 News for their ongoing promotion of Canadian Club events. To learn more about the Canadian Club and our upcoming events, please visit us at www.canadianclub.org. Thank you all for joining us. This meeting is now adjourned.